Welcome to the NWI.com Political Roundtable for Thursday, July 26th. I'm Robert Blaszkiewicz, Assistant Managing Editor of The Times. Joined with me today, Doug Ross, Editorial Page Editor of The Times, and Mark Kiesling, Times columnist. We had some pretty big breaking news this afternoon. It was kind of expected, but big news nonetheless. The House Democrats have ousted Pat Bauer as their leader and have installed Hammond Democrat Linda Lawson to take his place, at least on an interim basis.
Right, and this is big news because they've been, the Democrats, the Democratic caucus, we should say, have been trying to do this for, months, and now they just finally were able to pull it off. So,
well, she's the logical successor to Bauer because she was kind of his right-hand person.
Well,
now there's been a lot of grumbling, and you've heard a lot of grumbling among the of the Democratic caucus about Bauer, and what kind of led to this point?
well, I think there was a perception that he was the dinosaur in there. I mean, he was the only person who had been in the General Assembly the same amount of time as Chet Dobas. They entered the same year, and Chet retired. The dinosaur factor, though, comes not from the age, but from the lack of ability to get Democrats elected. I mean, this is...
the Democrats have taken a beating both electorally and legislatively in recent years.
Well, in the state of Indiana, not in the state of
Right.
Right, and so now they're in the state of confusion. Take the analogy.
And we also saw some mention from some of the Democrats about Bauer's leadership style. It was seen as top down, and there's hopes that Linda Lawson will be much more inclusive in utilizing the talents of her fellow Democrats.
And I think you'll see that. I've known Linda for a while, and
I've known her since she was a Hammond police officer.
Exactly, for what, 24 years, something like that, and so a long time. I mean, she's very savvy about police issues, and still, frankly, is active and sensitive about that. But
well, one person that seemed to be saddened by the turn of events, besides Pat Bauer, was Republican Indiana Republican Chairman Eric Holcomb, who said that he was sorry to see Pat Bauer go. What does that tell you?
I think that tells you that it was Pat Bauer's time to go if you're a Democrat.
Well, that and with Holcomb's case, there's a lot to be said about the devil versus when you don't.
The Republicans really used Pat Bauer as a punching bag for a long time.
Oh yeah, so. I mean he's been a long time fixture. He's the one that prompted Mitch Daniels to talk about the session was car bombed early in Daniels' tenure as governor. So I mean, and Daniels later regretted that remark. But it was Bauer that led to the walkout. And,
well, I was just going to say, just if you could encapsulate a bit, talk about his role in that walkout.
Well, I mean, it was the Democratic caucus. Who else is going to, be responsible for that? And ultimately, it was a failed effort. Because
and there's your problem right there.
There is your problem, and the fact is, if they're talking about the possibility of Republicans having a supermajority in the House, that means that there's nothing the minority, the Democrats,
not even a walkout can stop.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you may as well not even show up.
Let's shift gears here
They weren't showing up for a while.
Shift gears to Lake County politics. We had some interesting developments this week in the Lake County surveyor's race. You want to talk about that, Mark?
Well, of course, there are a lot of people that say the surveyor shouldn't even be elected. I mean, it should be an appointed position.
It's currently held by Democrat George Van Til.
It's currently held by George Van Til, and has been for any number of years. And in my, I've been here since 1985, and there has never been a non-Democrat in that position. Now, there is serious talk that Eric Krieg, the Republican challenger, is going to give Van Til a run for his money.
Well, Van Til's office was raided. We know that. We know that the FBI was taking files and computers and whatnot out. And so, you know, there's
But
this.
we haven't seen
don't
the
know-
outcome of that.
yeah.
We haven't seen, there's been no allegations of wrongdoing on anyone's
Right.
part in the office. All we
Correct.
know
Exactly.
Now, that's where I have problems with people talking about George Van Til being the Ann Seton of this election. She was charged with 2 felony counts when she ran.
she was the Democratic nominee for
I'm
Lake
sorry,
County
yes,
assessor,
Right.
2 years ago.
And was beaten by a very narrow margin, a 51 to 49% margin, by Republican Hank Adams, who was the St. John Township assessor. He is and was highly qualified to do the job. Now, she was on the property tax
Peterborough.
Peterborough,
Yep.
Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals, and so she wasn't a complete stranger to the process, but what happened, if you all recall, is that there was a discussion as to whether or not she was actually a resident of not only Lake County but Indiana.
She held a Michigan driver's
She had
license.
a
Right.
Michigan
and cited all
driver's
this,
license. I believe she had Michigan plates on her car, and she owned a place in Michigan. Well, I mean, a lot of people own a place in Michigan, and I know people that have plates in their car that from Tennessee who own a summer cottage down there, but they're not running for office either.
Right. But anyway, she was defeated.
Very narrowly.
And yeah, so back to the surveyor's race.
Right. So, you know, what happened most recently was that Eric Krieg, the Republican candidate, said, you know, he made some allegations of pay to play, that Van Til got contributions from people who got contracts from that office.
I mean, not to be too jaded about this, but I mean that's not very strange. You get I did a story probably any number of years ago, because if I say a number, you'll be able to figure out who the sheriff was. But the sheriff gets contributions every year for every election cycle from the people to whom he gives towing contracts. You know, and it's just he gets contributions from people who don't get the contracts too. You know, they're looking to say, hey, you know, we'll play ball with you.
Probably not too many contributions from inmates. But.
No, not too many.
But the point is, you're right. I mean, that's how you get your
The
contributions.
Lake County prosecutor has always, and I'm not just talking about Bernie Carter, I'm talking about the Lake County prosecutor since it was a full-time job and became a full-time job under Jack Crawford, has always gotten contributions from lawyers. You know,
I mean, you know, frankly, what it comes down to is, you know, and it goes back to the idea of the elected versus appointed. Who else cares? I mean,
well, who does? I mean, there are a number of offices in the county that, you know, in my opinion, should not be elected. You shouldn't have an elected surveyor. I mean,
and this is the Kernan
Yeah,
Shepherd Commission.
and we've talked about
as well.
non-policy
Right.
making positions.
Exactly.
Right.
Should
You
not
don't
be elected.
need an elected coroner. You need a medical examiner. Indianapolis has a medical examiner. You know, in a small county, okay, you can get away with that. But you know, we have a large county that deals with probably more homicides than Marion County does, and you know, we still have this ancient system that goes back to feudal England. Does anyone really care who the coroner is?
And they're still feuding over the system.
Yeah.
So.
But now, the question is, will people vote for Eric Krieg,
A Republican,
A
a very
Republican.
conservative Republican.
a very Tea Party
Right.
Republican?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, you know, it's quite obvious if anyone reads his blog. I'm not saying that's bad or good. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that this is a fact. But Lake County has a history of voting. They've elected people who are under indictment. One of the reasons Ann Seton didn't win, and I don't. Van Til has a little of this problem, but it's because the party didn't support her. They supported Randy Guernsey for county assessor.
And it was a
He
surprise
was
that
the
he
Ross-
lost.
Right.
Right,
in the-
right. He
in
was the Ross
numbers.
Township assessor. He was the only one slated who didn't win. I don't know why. I have no idea. But Van Til, one, as you correctly point out, has not been charged with anything. Two, yeah, there is some controversy within the party. He and party chairman Tom McDermott don't get along very well.
Right.
You know, I don't expect McDermott to get out there on the street corner and hand out Van Til pamphlets. But the question becomes, how strenuously does he work against him? And I don't see him working against him that hard when...
Not if he wants to remain county chairman.
Yeah.
Right.
Certainly.
Right. Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see
It
how
will
it all
be.
works
It
out.
will be very interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have this week. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with another political roundtable.